Hi everybody, it's me, it's JB from the No Name Cinema Society. I apologize in advance for my appearance. The pandemic obviously has taken its toll on all of us in many different ways, and hope you guys are staying safe out there as best as you can. But I did want to reach out to you guys and share some fun stuff. If you have been following us on Instagram, that you probably know that we have been studying, or we have announced that we're going to be studying 1970 this year, 50 years ago. And obviously that means primarily watching the films from 1970, but it also means watching some of the television shows of 1970. And one of the biggest television shows of 1970, ratings-wise, was the Carol Burnett Show. And so I started doing some cursory research on Carol Burnett, more out of curiosity than anything else. I'm not really a stalker or anything, but I did think it was kind of cool to discover that her childhood home was very close to where I lived in Los Angeles. So if you look over here, this is actually the apartment building. It was a boarding house at the time, I believe, where Carol Burnett grew up from about the late 30s to the mid 50s with her grandmother and her younger sister Chrissy, because I believe apparently her parents both struggled with issues with alcohol. And it was while living here that she was attending UCLA for theater, etc. And at a student showcase after her junior year, I think it was, there was a party afterwards, and a man came up to her and said she was pretty good and asked her what her plans were, and she said, well, me and my boyfriend, his name is Don Soroyan, who would eventually become her husband, me and my boyfriend are gonna hopefully go to New York after graduation, but we're having trouble, getting the money, so we're saving up and that sort of thing. And the man said, you guys are good, so I can loan you guys $1,000 interest-free on 3 conditions to go to New York and try to your hand at the acting thing. And the conditions were 1, that the loan gets paid back within 5 years, 2, that he remains anonymous until for the duration of her life, and 3, that if she does achieve success, that she gives back to other aspiring artists the way he gave to her. And that's kind of how it went down. She went to New York, she had some success obviously, and she paid back the loan, and to this day no one knows who that anonymous donor is. And so I think that's kind of a cool story. I always think it's interesting to see what the catalysts to history are, and particularly to people's careers. Gosh, I needed a guy like that at some point. Very cool story. Now, in addition to living right here in Hollywood, she actually also had a part-time job right around the corner. So let's check that out. This here is the Pacific Theater on Hollywood Boulevard. It used to be the Warner Brothers Theater, where Carol Burnett worked as an usherette in the early 50s as a teenager. And as the story goes, it was during a screening of Alfred Hitchcock's Strangers on a Train in 1951, where there was a couple that tried to get in with 5 minutes left to go in the film. But she said, oh, no, you don't want to spoil the ending, you want to wait till the next show. But they wanted to get in anyway, and she sort of held her ground and got fired as a result. And I appreciate that story. I appreciate Carol Burnett sticking up for the integrity of the movie-going experience. It seems like something I would get fired for. But when it came time, the experience of working here and obviously living so close, it seems like it meant a lot to her, because when it came time for her to get her star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame, they asked her where she wanted it, and she would say, I'm a little off, right here in front of the theater where she worked as a kid. I don't know if that was probably upside down, but anyway. So my ex-girlfriend from many, many years ago was obsessed with Carol Burnett. She idolized her. She told me the story that that may or may not be apocryphal, but I think it's kind of fun, so I'll tell it anyway. Apparently when Carol Burnett first moved to New York, she was in between jobs and she was struggling to make things happen the way she wanted them to, and so she made herself a promise that she was going to give it 1 more year, and if it didn't work out within that year, then she was going to hightail it and decide she wasn't cut out for this sort of thing. But she was going to make a drastic change during that last year of effort to make it happen. She was going to dye her hair red, which of course is she's famous for her red hair. She's not a natural redhead. And by the end of that year, she had scored the lead role in what would become a Broadway musical, Once Upon a Mattress. Opened Broadway end of 1959, and she was nominated for the Tonys in 1960 as Best Actress. It was nominated for Best Musical as well. Lost to Sound of Music in both those categories, although Best Musical was a tie with Fiorello, if I recall correctly. But how are you going to beat Sound of Music? That's some tough competition. Still, started the career that we know so well today. She had done some television before that, but Once Upon a Mattress, you know, put her in the next echelon. And so my ex-girlfriend said that she was going to do the same thing. She also was going to dye her hair red. Didn't do as much for her though, for whatever reason. She did eventually score a role in the second Hunger Games film, but that wasn't as a redhead, so I don't know if it counts. Anyway, so we at the No Name Cinema Society will be back when movies are back. It looks like mid-July at this point. Rumor has it Christopher Nolan's Tenet is still on track to be released in mid-July, so we'll be back around then. Supposedly, we'll keep you updated on Instagram with our plans as far as that's concerned. Hope you're doing well, staying safe. I'm going to put my mask back on as I walk home. But thanks for tuning in, and you know, as more opportunities arise, we'll maybe chime in with some more stuff about 1970 while we wait for the regular show to come back. Take care, everybody.